Yo guys, hey, what's up? It's your boy here, Ken. I know it's a different surrounding here. I'm in a car doing this review. But I just wanted to get this out of the way, get it done, just because I'm really busy at the moment right now. I'm pounding about the Lyrical Lemonade Night 3 concert here in Chicago. Anyways, so I'm going to get the SummerSlam video out here late tonight. I know NXT TakeOver is also is airing tonight. If I don't do an NXT review, TakeOver review tonight, I'll do one on Monday. Have that review up on Monday. But I want to talk about SummerSlam. SummerSlam that happened yesterday, Saturday. First SummerSlam or any WWE pay-per-view, at least in my lifetime, airing on a Saturday. Very peculiar. It was very strange. Yeah, so SummerSlam for me, I gotta say, for as big as a big event this was a mixed bag. This wasn't a terrible SummerSlam, but it also wasn't one of the very best SummerSlam either. I say the last three main event matches kept my interest and delivered on its end. I think what really hurt this year's SummerSlam was the undercard. The undercard just really, to me, hurt the overall experience. And there was a few good things at this pay-per-view, but I think the negatives, or maybe just the lackluster thereof, equaled the good stuff that came out of this pay-per-view, which ended up being, at the end result, ended up being just a mixed bag. It wasn't a slam dunk SummerSlam, but it wasn't the worst SummerSlam either. It was just like in the middle of the road, kind of, On a scale of 1 through 10, it was probably about like a 5.5, 5.6 scaling. So, well, let's get right into it, just really briefly. So the first match that's kicked off was RK Bro facing AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team titles. I thought this was a good opening match. Did what David had to do to get the people over. The chemistry between the personality clash, I guess you could say, really, between Randy Orton and Riddle is one of the very, very, very few good things on Raw. And they won the tag team titles, so I thought that was a good thing to kind of kick off the show. After this Raw tag team match, it took a while for this show to pick up, because SummerSlam, after the Raw tag team match, the rest of the card just kind of, I don't want to say just derailed and just fell off its fucking tracks, but like the excitement and the intriguement just kind of took a dive. It dipped. We had Alexa Bliss versus Eva. I think it's not Eva Marie. Eva. This match had no business being on SummerSlam. Had no business being on SummerSlam. I'm so tired of Alexa Bliss with this Bray Wyatt gimmick that was originally Bray's, and now that she's taken it upon herself, I don't like it at all. I want my old school, cheerleader, girly girl, whatever you want to call it, Alexa Bliss back. That's the Alexa Bliss I want back. Anyways, Alexa Bliss won the match. Whatever. Next match after that we got, I believe, was the United States Championship match. This was a good match. I think this match, looking back at it compared to a lot of other things, this match might be overlooked. But Sheamus versus Damian Priest for the United States title. This was a good match. Damian Priest kind of scared me at one point, because it looked like he hurt himself really, really bad in one spot. And then there was another moment, like shortly after that, right before the camera turns to Sheamus, who's climbing up on the third rope. You see Damian Priest gets up and his knees just buckle. And it didn't look like it was part of the show, but it looked like he legitimately was suffering some battle scars from that dive he took outside the ring earlier in the match, because his knees just buckled and he just kind of dropped. But this was a really good match. Damian Priest won and is the new United States champion. I think a lot of people, Sheamus is underrated. I got to give credit to Sheamus. Sheamus is one of the best workers they have in that company. For like big man, like hands down. The guy just has tremendous. And I've been saying this for a while too. If you guys go back, his feuds with Drew McIntyre, I said were solid. His match with Riddle at WrestleMania, I thought was one of the best matches on the card. Whatever night it was, I think it was night 1 or night 2. I'm not sure. But that was one of the better matches on the WrestleMania card that it was on. Sheamus is underrated. Hands down. But Damian Priest won. That was a good pick. Then we get into the SmackDown Tag Team title match. Usos, who to me are still one of the best tag teams today, facing off against Rey Mysterio and his son. I wasn't interested in this match at all. This match had no meaning. Like, the match was fine. It was okay. But, like, I've seen it before. And it's like, been there, done that. Let's get on to something else. Didn't care about it. This match could have been on SmackDown. And it's been on SmackDown for, like, the past several weeks. And we got it again at SummerSlam. So I felt this match was pointless. Didn't care about it at all. Then we get the triple threat Raw Women's Championship match between Charlotte, Ripley, and Nikki, I think. Yeah. I wasn't into this match either. This was another meaningless match to me. This match was meaningless, and again, Charlotte's once again Raw's champion. So, like, Charlotte's a GOAT. There's no disputing that or denying that. She is a GOAT. But I don't know what directions they're taking with Charlotte. And some of the directions they've been taking has been kind of... one could say that they're probably trying to mimic Charlotte after her father. Because, Ric Flair is like a 18, 19-time world champion. Realistically, he's a 24-time world champion, but WWE only recognizes, 17 of those titles. It's kind of looking like they're trying to make Charlotte the modern-day female Ric Flair, in terms of like a championship accomplishment, how many titles she could win. But to me, I don't think it helps Charlotte in the long run in terms of fans being able to tolerate her. Getting these constant title shots and winning them. She's a GOAT. That's undeniable. But WWE they need to scale back on Charlotte. She can be in the big main event matches from time to time, but her winning these belts, it's running its course. With me, and I think a lot of people too. But this is another match I didn't care for. SmackDown Women's Championship match. Bianca Belair. This was interesting. This whole situation was very confusing. So apparently it's supposed to have been Belair versus Banks for the title. Something was kind of screwy, as I guess we heard from Dave Meltzer that Sasha Banks, WWE knew ahead of time, 8 days before SummerSlam, a whole week, that Sasha Banks is not going to be able to compete at SummerSlam. For whatever reason, we don't know. We don't know if it's due to injury, personal reasons, whatever. But for whatever reasons, Sasha Banks did not compete at SummerSlam. So they do this thing where Belair comes out first. We're still under the impression that Banks is coming out, but she doesn't. I didn't know about the Sasha thing until after the pay-per-view. So I, like everyone else, legitimately thought that she was going to compete last night. Then we hear announced that Sasha Banks is not going to be able to compete at the show. So out comes Carmella. And Carmella comes out to her long entrance. And then there's just like this long, like, dead silence and staring at each other and talking. And I'm like, okay, well, what's happening here? Like, okay, well, this is another main English SmackDown match. Music hits. Becky Lynch comes out. Becky Lynch returns. Crowd goes nuts. Glad to see her back. I think Becky Lynch came back a lot. They probably called Becky Lynch a lot sooner than they probably had wanted to, but due to the circumstances with Banks, they kind of had to pull the trigger and bring her out now. So she comes out, she beats up Carmella, tells Belair one moment, beats her up, Then comes back in the ring. They have the stare down for like another 3 minutes. She tells Belair, let's fight for the SmackDown's title right now. Belair agrees. She says, shake my hand. Belair shakes her hand. Becky gives her a rock bottom, which I guess is for her move is called manhandle or something like that. Gives her a rock bottom, pins Belair and becomes the new women's champion. 26-second match. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, literally, like, due to the circumstances that they had, I understand they had to bring back Becky. I don't have a problem with Becky coming back. But that whole transition of telling people Banks isn't there, legitimately, then bringing out Carmella, then have this long pause between Carmella and Belair, and then you bring out Becky, and then I'm thinking, okay, well then there's going to be a triple threat. But then you have Becky beat up Carmella, says, wait a minute, come back in the ring. They stare down for another 5 or 10 minutes. Then she says, let's have a match. She agrees, and then she beats her in like 10 seconds. Then it's the new women's champion. That was the most confusing and conflicting thing I've seen WWE do in a while. Like, I don't even know. Anyways, I can get some more details about this, but I think Belair hasn't really been given a fair shake. She's had a long, lengthy run, but Belair has not really had a dominant run, because all she's been fighting with her entire 6-month run is Carmella and Bayley as champion. Like, that's it. So I guess maybe this time you can have her chase for Becky. Have her chase Becky, and at least it'll be a new feud moving forward. So there's that. We also get, I know I forgot another match that was on the undercard. Drew McIntyre versus let's say Sanjay Dutt. Jinder Mahal. Drew McIntyre beat Jinder Mahal. It was a fine match. It was, what it needed to be. It's like, it wasn't long. It didn't overstay its welcome. Drew won, though. So, there's that. What a difference a year makes. Then we get into what I thought was one of the 3 top matches I was looking forward to. Edge versus Seth Rollins. This match was great. To me, this was the match of the night. Before the match even began, Edge coming out to the Brood theme song from back in the day, like the Gangrel Brood song. I thought that was badass. Him coming up from the ground and the smoke and the fire effects on TV. I thought that was great. I thought, and then he, halfway down the ramp, he then transitioned to, his Edge thing. I would have been perfectly fine if, like, he just walked out to his entire entrance to the Brood. That would have been awesome. I would have done it that way. Like, let the Edge theme song rest for a moment, or you can play that when he wins after he wins the match. But, like, when he first came in, they should just play the whole Brood song through, the whole Brood entrance through. That would have been awesome. But for what it was, I thought it was great. A great throwback. Like I said, really good match. Seth Rollins, I will continue to say, is a workhorse for WWE. The man just does not stop. He knows how to get back up. Edge looked really great and strong in this. I thought they played off each other really well. I thought the build for this match was really good too, because they really played off the part of Seth Rollins being an Edge light. And I remember years ago when Rollins first cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania, and he was with the whole Authority and stuff. I remember one of my complaints I had was that I hated how WWE booked Rollins as a chicken shit heel, because it felt like they were trying to make him like an Edge, where he's an opportunist. And to me, it didn't click for me, because I was like, only one person, you can book that way, and they play it off really well. And those guys were Ric Flair, Triple H, and Edge. And I felt like I was doing the same with Seth Rollins, but it didn't click with me. And it's funny, me making that statement, 5 years ago, seeing it 5 years later. In storyline, they played it out as Seth Rollins' career kind of paralleling to Edge, and Seth Rollins kind of coming off as an Edge light. And I'm like, I pointed this exact thing out 5 years ago when he first won the world title, I'm like, they're booking him like a chicken shit heel, like Edge was, and to me it didn't work. But I just thought that was just really, really interesting to see WWE kind of like acknowledge that, and when I acknowledged it way before, and I don't think anybody else did in the wrestling community. But this was a good match. Edge won by making Rollins submit, tap out. I thought that was great. I wouldn't be surprised if this feud continues. I wouldn't be upset if this feud continues. But this was a good match. Then we get on to Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. I'm surprised this match was the second to last match on the card. I thought this match would have been way like in the middle of the show somewhere. But hey, they got my boy Bobby Lashley as champion. He's higher up on the SummerSlam card, so I wasn't going to complain too much about the spot. I will say this: it is definitely a difference. I know a lot of people hate Goldberg now. Goldberg is well beyond his prime and probably shouldn't wrestle anymore. But before that bell rings and he does anything, Goldberg still has that appeal, that aura, where when his music hits, he walks down the backstage entrance with the guards and stuff, and the music hits and the people chant his name in the arena. He still gives off that aura of a mega star. And regardless of what people think about him, like I said, before that bell even rings, he comes across like a big star than anybody on that roster. And I love Bobby Lashley, and I'm glad he's WWE champion. But you see Bobby Lashley's entrance, Lashley coming out first, and then how Goldberg comes up. Goldberg comes off like a much bigger star, and it just night and day. It's just like how wrestlers are today and how WWE presents their stars today. They don't present their stars in a big light like yesterday's stars. Even though Goldberg really wasn't a WWE product, he was WCW, but you get what I mean. There is definitely a difference of yesterday's stars compared to the stars of today, and how they are presented. They have a certain it factor about them. Anyways, I thought this match was okay. I thought this match came across a lot better than Goldberg's match with McIntyre at Royal Rumble earlier this year. I thought this match it was okay for what it was. Goldberg, there was it did look like, I will say this, in the beginning, before Goldberg even came out to wrestle, you notice Goldberg's right leg, which would have been his left, but for those viewing at home, his right leg, it looked like his leg was kind of buckled, because there was a couple of times when he kind of lifted Lashley, and you could see Goldberg kind of almost buckle a little bit, as well as take the pressure or the weight off his left leg as he was, slamming Lashley. I think Goldberg was I don't think Goldberg was 100%. I don't think he was 100%. And his legs probably was buckling or whatever because his age. He can't do it no more. But WWE still likes to stroll him out there for whatever reason. But this match ended in a stoppage because Lashley continued to hit Goldberg on the podium with the injured knee or whatever. And then he takes a chair and begins to just continue to beat Goldberg with it. Now, to me, I didn't get what this was, or I didn't get the point of it until, Goldberg's son came in. Goldberg's son, Gage, came in, tried to, help his dad out or save his dad. And Lashley just manhandles Goldberg's son, puts him in the master lock, and just shakes him like a pit bull shaking a rabbit or something. And I mean, it was hilarious. It was great. I kind of popped for it. It was funny. And MVP says, hey, stop, whoa. MVP cuts a promo and says, hey, there's no way that Lashley could have known that, this was Goldberg's son. It could have been anybody. Goldberg acknowledges and sees his son being on the other side of the ring. tells Lashley, MVP, this isn't over, I'm going to kill you. So they're teasing that this is going to be a sequel, a Goldberg Lashley 2. And it hit me because I think WWE they did announce their next pay-per-view for September. I know the crown jewel, the next crown jewel is in October, but the next pay-per-view I think is Extreme Rules, which is I think September. Lashley hitting Goldberg with a chair repeatedly. After seeing the promos for those next two shows, it hit me. I'm like, you know what? It's probably going to be Goldberg and Lashley again, but in a chairs match at Extreme Rules. If they don't do it there, then they're definitely going to have the rematch at Crown Jewel. And Goldberg just because of the ramifications of the knee strikes and then him attacking his son, Goldberg might be WWE champion at the next WWE pay-per-view or the next Saudi show. He could be the next WWE champion. And if that happens, oh boy, I don't even know what to say. I won't even touch that with a 10-foot pole or play into the thought of that happening. But if I'm just saying it possibly could. Goldberg is a 2-time Universal Champion. The WWE Championship is the one belt that Goldberg has never won. Even when he was in WWE full-time back in the early 2000s, that's the one belt that's eluded Goldberg. So, looking at how things ended at SummerSlam and looking like they are quite possibly going to continue this feud moving forward, it would not surprise me if they end up having Goldberg be WWE Champion just to tick that box off his checklist. Then we get on to the main event, Roman Reigns versus John Cena. The biggest star of today versus the biggest star of, well, the last generation. This match was good. I thought it started off kind of slow, but once it kind of picked up the pace, I thought it lived up to what you would expect of these two high-caliber superstars in WWE of today. Roman Reigns hits John Cena with a spear, beats him, retains, wins, but his victory will be cut short, I should say, or his celebratory victory will be cut short as Brock Lesnar's music hits. Brock Lesnar, music hits, crowd goes nuts. He looks like a fucking Viking, which I think looks badass. And he comes into the ring and he stares down Roman Reigns, looking at Paul Heyman as Paul Heyman's begging. It's like, oh, Roman, please, no. And you know, Paul Heyman looks like he's seen a ghost. Just the theatrics of it all just looked fucking great. So the Beast is back, Brock Lesnar. That is the biggest highlight of SummerSlam. Brock Lesnar's back, feuding with Roman. I know we've seen this feud like 2-3 times over in the past 3 years. Again, this is a little bit different. Roman Reigns is a much bigger star now than those last 3 incidents that they faced each other. Paul Heyman has now aligned himself with Roman, other than Lesnar. Roman Reigns is a heel. He's a much different character. He's a much different person now than he was even 2 years ago when they had their last feud at SummerSlam at that. So it'll be interesting to say for sure. When they will feud, I don't know. It could be WrestleMania. It could be as late as WrestleMania. It could be as early as Survivor Series. I don't know. But it'll definitely be interesting to see this for sure as they just continue to just kind of bring in these big stars and stack them up to Roman Reigns. And I also heard too, I didn't see it yet, but I also heard that once they went off the air, Brock Lesnar suplexed John Cena multiple times in the ring. I gotta check that out because I'm sure the crowd popped for that. That would have been hilarious to see. But all in all, like I said, the positives in SummerSlam. The only bright spots, like I said, we had a good match with Edge. Edge and Rollins delivered. Roman Cena delivered. We had a surprise with Becky Lynch returning. We had a surprise return of Brock Lesnar We had a nice win of the Raw Tag Team titles. But outside of that, SummerSlam to me was just a mixed bag as a whole. The negatives definitely outweigh the positives to where it was just a confusing pay-per-view. Anyways, you guys let me know what you thought about SummerSlam. Did you like it, dislike it? You could definitely say, a lot of people wondered, with AEW bringing in Punk and the reception that got online, how would WWE respond? How would WWE, what moves they would make? Well, they made their answer. They brought back the Beast. They said, okay, if all the Elite are going to bring back Punk, we're going to bring back the Beast. And honestly, Brock Lesnar's a good counter to a returning CM Punk for sure. But you guys let me know what you think about this in the box below. On your thoughts. Do yourself a favor, hit the like button and subscribe. Peace out.